Hi guys, I just wanted to go live for a little bit um, and talk about how I was feeling this morning. Um, I know there's a lot of people that suffer from depression and anxiety and PTSD for um, particularly combat vets. I can relate to, but PTSD is not just for combat vets; it's for also other people that go through traumatic events in their life, and I wanted to talk a few minutes about it because a lot of people don't seem to understand it, and those of us suffering from it, uh, we kind of feel the need to hide it, um, and I think the hardest part about living with it is the fact that we feel obligated to hide it, even though we we know that we need to share it with the people around us. Um, the to give you an idea, I when I woke up this morning, I kind of didn't want to get out of bed. I just didn't feel good. It was I wanted to roll over and go back to sleep, even though I knew I wasn't tired. Um, it was just one of those things. I didn't necessarily want to be in bed, but I didn't want to get out of bed because that would mean that I'd have to do other things that would require my energy. So it's that's kind of the general motivation, the general issue that I deal with is the paradox of having the depression, having the anxiety. I can understand that I don't need to do something or I have to do something, but my body is telling me just the opposite. Um, and it's not rational. So, like, a few weeks ago, my friend asked me to hang out with him and someone and a mutual friend, his best friend, but someone that I had met through him at an event, and it was cool. Like I was like in my head, I'm thinking, yeah, that would be really cool, but my mind and the words were not coming out to agree. It was more searching for excuses, and initially I said yes, I'll go, and then the next day when it came time to start getting ready, I found myself um, being avoidant, um, not wanting to get ready, not having the energy to get in the shower, which I struggle with every day. Um, it sounds gross, but there's just the thought of getting up, going into the shower, taking a shower, and getting clean, coming out. I mean, 15 to 20 minutes in the shower is nothing to a normal person. Someone with depression and anxiety, it takes forever. It's the longest thing that you could do, and a lot of times that just that action is enough to drain you for the day. I can't take a shower in the morning before doing something. I I just can't. I feel tired. I want to go back to sleep. Um, so going back to the whole social anxiety issue, um, I found myself trying to find ways out of it, and I finally just said, you know what, um, I'm not gonna go. I need to explain it to you. I mean, I know that you're more likely to understand it than other people because I think you've been there. I think that's something that we've discussed before. Um, and I I know you're my friend. I don't think you're going um, to think less of me. And he understood completely. And he said that if I ever change my mind or if I ever decide that I want to hang out, just let him know. And I appreciated that. And it was like a wave of relief went over me because I knew I didn't have to go out to be social. I mean, I'm fine talking with them online, playing World of Warcraft with them, playing Heroes of the Storm, getting in voice chat, chatting over that. But getting up, getting dressed, going, being in a social environment is just, it's a little bit too much for me. So that's something that I deal with every day. Um, Today was one of those days that I woke up and felt completely overwhelmed by the thought of getting up and doing my normal routine and um, potentially even just streaming. And it was like, I know there's new content coming out that I was really excited about, and I love being able to post on social media about it, and I get to immerse myself into it. And this morning I woke up feeling dread that I had to do that, that I had to do that, even though it's something that I choose to do. And that's part of the big problem is it's things that you're supposed to enjoy, you just don't. You can have good days, weeks, months, and then all of a sudden it hits you like a freight train and you want nothing to do with anything. And you don't even realize that you're avoiding those things in most cases. It's just, you just do it, and it's irrational. There's, I could, I could say, yeah, let's go out next weekend. We'll go to Dave and Buster's. We'll go to the arcade. We'll have a couple drinks. We'll go see a movie after, and it. And then the day comes, and it's okay. Do I really want to get dressed and do all that? I know I'm going to be tired when I get there, because I have to drive there, and I have to take a shower first, and I have to get dressed up. Like, God, anything outside of sweats, oh man, it's so difficult. Um, and then once I'm there, I may or may not enjoy myself. Once I'm there, I could I could completely change my attitude once I get there, if I do go, and be completely content with the social situation. Or I could end up sitting there trying to act like I'm having fun, but in reality I'm counting down the time until I get to leave and go home. And that's another issue that I deal with all the time. I mean, everyone does it for work. Yeah, I get it. Work is work. But like, when you're supposed to be having fun with your friends, you usually don't count the time until you go home, or you don't search for opportunities to excuse yourself or to disappear when no one's paying attention. So these are all the things that I deal with on a regular basis, and I wanted to talk about it because if I don't recognize it and talk about it and let people know what I'm going through, there's no way that they can understand why I'm flaking out on social situations, or not being a part of their wedding, or um, not getting on on my Twitch stream from my own house, in my sweatpants, in my office chair, in front of my computer like I always do, you would think that I would be okay with that, but it's completely irrational, and some days I just can't pull myself to do anything. There's days that I just want to go lay down in bed. Right now, if I hadn't pushed myself to get on the stream and talk about this, I would have gone back to bed. And I mean, the one thing that made me think about it is I made coffee this morning, like I do every day. But once I made it, I put it on my desk, and I sat and I watched it get cold. I wasn't doing anything else. I had hopped on MMO Champion right after I sat down, looked to see if there was any new information about today's patch for World of Warcraft, which there was a little bit, but nothing that I was unaware of, really. And once I was done with that, I sat back and kind of just watched my coffee get cold and thought about the fact that I really didn't want to be awake. I didn't want to be out of bed. And thought was, okay, what day of the week is it? It's Tuesday. Why do I care if it's Tuesday? What's going to change if I stay awake right now? What's going to change if I just go back to bed? Would anything matter in that respect? And I realized that I was having one of those days where, even though I'm medicated for the depression, it still pushes me. I still have times where I dip down into those lows, and I can recognize it. Sometimes I can fix it, sometimes I can't. And it's just a fact of life for me. And that kind of stuff actually makes keeping a job very difficult. I haven't worked since, I think, June. And I initially, when I left my job, I said, "Oh well, I'm just leaving my job because I'm pursuing school." But the reality was I was doing it to avoid having to do that social interaction, that person to person interaction, because I was in a customer service oriented role. Even though I did security, it was customer service based, and I had to deal with people on a regular basis, and there were a lot of people that liked talking to me and this, that, and the other thing, and for me it was tiring. I worked from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m., which is an unusual shift. It's 10 hours, but I worked 4 days a week, and that period of time was difficult because I had to deal with people on a regular basis, and I had to be seen out there doing stuff with people, like doing my job, patrolling the property and interacting with people to, basically do my job. Anyhow, and it was tiring. And then I had school. I was going to college, and I had to make the decision on which was more important to me. And getting GI Bill benefits Um, the money was better going to college anyhow, so it was pretty much a no-brainer for me. But at that point, I hadn't really been thinking along the lines of how my depression was affecting me. It was kind of like, okay, yeah, I've been diagnosed with PTSD and depression and anxiety, but it wasn't anything that I was actively trying to manage. It was just I was taking the pills because I was told I had to. And I mean, I saw some positive changes with the pills, but a lot of it was up and down still, and I had to be more mindful of it. And once I quit the job and was able to focus more on schooling, I realized where my issues were. Um, and then I had a slump where I just didn't want to go to school. I didn't go to my classes because I felt that I was comfortable with the material, which I was. Um, and then I had a professor that um, kept changing the course material from what she had in the syllabus and what was approved by the school. And I ended up failing because she removed course material from the online portion of our course and made it in person. And I think she did it to spite me, but that could just be me thinking that she did it. But I still feel that I had done all the schoolwork, the coursework. Every Sunday, the week's coursework would unlock, and I would do it Sunday or Monday and submit it. And by the end of the week, the course information on online had changed, and the work I had submitted never got graded because it was no longer available. So I ended up failing that course, and because of that, I was dismissed from the school, and um, I lost my income from that. So now I'm kind of just sitting here going, okay, I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. I know that I had a job, but I quit it because of my depression and because I went to school. So I can't go back to that. Um, I was offered a job through an online recruiting for retail merchandising, which I thought was fine until I started getting the emails and the communications and the phone calls and realized that they were more like a full-time job than a part-time work at your own pace kind of job. So I couldn't really follow through with it. I kind of withdrew from the job and ended up um, not responding to texts or answering phone calls just because I couldn't deal with it. There was just too much going on. So um, Sunday I went to my parents' house, and my dad asked me how everything was going and asked me if I was current on my bills, and um, I I had to tell him that I don't have income right now, and he he didn't seem to really understand where I was coming from when I said that it was my depression kicking in, my PTSD getting worse. Um, I mean, I've I know I've said it before on my stream. I only sleep 3 or 4 hours most per day. Um, the rest of the time, I'm either just laying there awake or sitting in a chair looking around the room or staring out the window. Um, so trying to explain it to my dad was the most difficult because he wanted to relate it to himself, but he hasn't experienced what I'm going through in in the in the respect of dealing with the depression and the social anxiety, and I had to explain it to him if he were as if he were the person that had made plans with me to do something. And I even had to explain it to him, you know, even going to my parents' house on Sunday was difficult for me. I My mom texted my girlfriend to let her know that she was making a certain meal, and I was like, okay, well, I guess we can go. And I I knew I had to take a shower. I knew I had to get dressed, and I mean, I was planning on showering anyhow, but the fact that I had to link it to another activity made it more of an issue. So I had to explain to my dad that even going there to my parents' house, even though they're family, and I know they're not trying to judge me in any way, shape, or form, that going there was just as exhausting for me as if I were to go to work. And I could see that it hurt him to hear that. But it's I felt that it was the only way to help him understand what I go through. Um, it hurts trying to talk about that because I don't want to hurt my family.